I'm Raul. This is Cindy. So we kind of want to give a recap and just kind of talk about the experience competing in ADCC. So basically, for those of you who don't know, so one of the reasons why ADCC is kind of interesting is that in the jiu-jitsu community, it's considered more of like a wrestling tournament. Okay, so since we come from more of a wrestling-oriented grappling style, what do you think? Does that hold water in your case, in your experience?
It's half, since like the first, at least for the adults, I don't know why they give you 5 minutes, but like for the first 3 minutes of the adult round, like 6 minutes, it is sub only, which I do like, because it's like more catch wrestling, but it's definitely not enough, because then the next 3 minutes are points based, and it's still like the jiu-jitsu game. And for you, it might have been like 2 minutes sub only and 3 minutes points, which is, I don't know, but it's kind of in our realm, but not really.
Yeah, because so basically the first half of each match is no points. So the thing is, like they often people talk about like how like pulling guard can be penalized in ADCC, but the thing is, since you start your match like without any points, then many people will go in seated, right, using seated guard, and so then they won't incur any kind of penalty. And then the thing is like if you can't submit them in that time period in the first half, then you got points that will start like they'll start counting points. So then it becomes kind of like a regular jiu-jitsu tournament after that. All right. So and then also in a way, like it does kind of, at least for me, still kind of show the need for sub only, where it's like there's never any points, because they'll still count things where it's like I was like, say in one of my matches I was going for a submission and I kind of fell underneath the person going for a double wrist lock to try to crank it up his back, but then the time ran out, and then because the person was on top, they kind of counted that being more advantageous position. So like in sub only, that really wouldn't necessarily happen if you had enough time to say like finish your submission, right? Or if you, so that, I think with those things said, like it only shows like kind of like the need for like the sub only stuff, but then also for catch wrestling stuff where it's like, again, no points and a longer time limit, because then you can't use a lot of the catch wrestling strategy where it's like you can try to wear down the person. If you have plenty of time, you can try to wear down the person over time, and then once they're a little bit more tired, then you can like more easily like pin them or get your submission hold. I mean, what are your thoughts, Cindy?
Yeah, the majority of our matches we didn't get submitted. Like, we only lost to the points. So it kind of shows for the need for more sub only and catch wrestling. Like I noticed, like especially in your match, your guy got tired. Like so, like if that match was longer, he would have been screwed.
Yeah.
So it definitely shows that the jiu-jitsu point system isn't in our favor.
Yes, yeah, because quite often they talk about like the jiu-jitsu point system still kind of favoring the wrestling, but only in that whoever's on top can get more points. Like if you do like a sweep, like if you're underneath and you sweep the person and then you end up on top, or like passing guard, all these kinds of things where you do kind of get on top and switch positions, then in that way it's like it favors the person on top, but it's not necessarily like wrestling in that way where so it never becomes truly like a wrestling competition. So I guess, yeah, with that being said, it's like we still want to be doing or like organizing and like hosting catch wrestling events, because then people who like don't want those kinds of things can try catch wrestling. And so that's why I say like catch wrestling like was always that way, where it's like you would go until someone definitely wins, right? Either by the pin, usually the pin or the submission. But quite often you would use these wrestling holds, or a lot of nowadays they're called submission holds, but you'd use the wrestling holds to throw the person down, to get them onto their back, right, to control them, and quite often, they might get pinned even before you can like do your submission hold. But it just shows like that control. So yeah, I think like does it make does your experience at ADCC make you yearn for catch wrestling?
Yeah, just because it's a little frustrating to lose by points. Like there's not like to lose because someone was dominating you on knee on belly is kind of, is it really a demonstration of true technique and skill? Not really.
Yeah. Quite often they won't necessarily. They would only want to use knee on belly to get points, right? They're not really because that was the thing where it's like to get points. Just like a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments, like you have to hold that position for a few seconds, and so you would hear like people at the table who add up the points. You'll hear them counting to make sure that the person was in a position, whether it be knee on belly or mount or whatever, long enough to get points. And so if you're and so then a lot of people again then because of the point system, then people can kind of game that thing where it's like maybe they can even just stay in the they can stay in one position and then transition to another one to get points and not necessarily even try to go for a submission. So then if you want to compete in ADCC, you have to take these things into consideration. You definitely want to be aware of the point system, but I don't necessarily think you would be the proudest of yourself if you just game that system. If you just kind of keep trying to transition from position to position to get points. I would say try to go for that submission instead of trying to rack up points. But a lot of times, so say like when you go for trials and stuff like that, then it'll be like 6-minute matches. So again, you have to kind of switch your mentality to like a speed game, right? You got to be trying to follow through. But then once you get to like the finals, then you'll have like that 20-minute match, which becomes more advantageous for those strategies, like those longer term strategies where you can try to wear out the person to try to get them to be more malleable to your attacks. But yeah, it's gotta be a speed and point game until then, right? If you can't get the submission, if they're tough enough to resist your submission attempts for the first few minutes, then you gotta be thinking that way, where you definitely you want to try to stay on top, but then you can also try to rack up the points. Do you have any other thoughts that come to mind?
No, this kind of just ADCC isn't enough, at least for catch and sub only. It isn't enough. We need like those pure sub only or catch wrestling tournaments.
Yeah. So then, say like for you, what would be your say if it was like, so don't think about catch wrestling, think about maybe a sub only event. What would be your ideal rule set, like time limits and all that?
Well, 10 minutes is a bit long, but it does give like adequate time for like setting up or like actually finishing a submission. And again, no points, because I think if it was 6 minutes of pure sub only, that would have been fine. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but then say if it goes the full 10 minutes, like would you consider like judge's decision, or like how Eddie Bravo overtime stuff? Like
Eddie Bravo overtime is fine. I mean, it's not my personal favorite, but I would probably prefer judge's decision, just who was dominating more, who was attempting submissions more. But yeah, because 10 minutes is long enough. I don't know if I would have the energy to go overtime.
Yeah. I think I saw. I think it could have been one of the Flow grappling events where it was. I think it was a match between Gio Martinez from one of the 10th Planet guys in the San Diego area, and I think it was against Kennedy Maciel, one of the Cobrinha guys from around here in LA, and I believe. So my point is, when you mentioned submission attempts, I think it could be submission attempts from any position, not just top, but even someone trying to submit from bottom, because during that match, I believe Gio was on bottom a lot, and he was attempting some submission holds, but because Kennedy stayed on top, they and like I think it was like a 10-minute match, and I think they went the full time. I believe they gave the match to Kennedy just because I think he was on top more, even though the person on bottom was like more active. So I think that can be something that probably should be changed.
Absolute robbery.
Yeah. Someone's like definitely like way more active on bottom, trying to transition from submission attempt to submission attempt. But so with that being said, it's not like if they wouldn't be staying in guard and then they would get credit for that. No, you have to be actively going for your double wrist locks, your triangle chokes, or things like that. Not like just holding someone in guard. That shouldn't be counted so much. And what do you think about that?
Like I mean, even the judges, like there's a technique called like lockdown. Like even the judges warned us, like if you're gonna do lockdown, you have to do something with it. You can't just like keep someone there. So at least like be attempting something.
Yeah. So I think there's like a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration to make it a little bit more fair, I guess. But with that being said, I think a lot of people know the name now, ADCC. So a lot of people there are tons of people competing. We're not gonna deter anyone from trying if that's like your dream to do that, but you just got to be aware of the point system. All right, so try to get that sub within the first half, or be aware that you could lose by points, like even without even noticing, really. Any other thing you'd like to add?
Not to spark any controversy, but like I'd definitely pick ADCC over IBJJF any day.
Actually, yeah. Ultimately, that's the thing. We still kind of like it. And like in a way, at least the first half is like sub only in a way. So that's why we half like it more than like IBJJF, because it's like all points.
It's not ideal, but it's preferred.
Yeah. And so just as long as they keep everything kind of like, that was the other thing. You have like these long waits in between each matches. IBJJF, you will actually have a very short wait in between your matches. Like I believe sometimes they try to keep it to 5 minutes. And also weigh-ins right before your event. So you have to take those things in consideration if you want to do IBJJF. But luckily for ADCC, you're able to like weigh in the day before and all that. So. At least for the opens, I believe trials you might have to do it the morning of, so you got to be aware of all that. So take all that into consideration. But at least since ADCC has like half sub only, we approve a little bit more. And so but the other thing that I like about ADCC, so speaking of the things we like about ADCC, is like I like that it is a very tough tournament. So like really a lot of the toughest people will be there. So we were talking about like anime, so you mentioned haiku.
Yeah, haiku. They, at least like the main character, the orange-haired main character, they always strive to go. They get like all excited about going against the toughest schools, or once they see a tough school, they're like, I want to go against that. Like, I'm gonna beat you. So I really like that attitude.
Yeah. So for me, I was thinking more, say like Goku, right? So for those of you who watch Dragon Ball, right?
Not to geek out.
Yeah. So if you're just like the average jiu-jitsu practitioner, and if you want to be like the people in haiku are like Goku, where he'll go anywhere in the universe if he hears like there's a good fighter. He'll travel there to test his skills. So like if you're more into like the jiu-jitsu universe, then yeah, I think probably the toughest people are competing at ADCC. So all the divisions are going to be tough. I competed in advanced, so if you want to, we'll probably still do more ADCC ones. So I'll be in the advanced division because I want to I'm thinking like Goku, where I want the toughest people for the opens. So that's the thing. For trials, it will pretty much all be advanced, but for the opens, so we had like the Los Angeles Open, and they have like all the different cities, the open tournaments. They'll have different divisions. So they'll have like the beginner division, intermediate, and advanced. So wherever you feel you're at, go for it. But just know there are going to be a lot of people, and usually they're going to be pretty tough. So if you want to test yourself against some pretty tough competition, I recommend it. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
This by no means is it like to deter you from competing in ADCC or IBJJF. It's just that you do have to keep in mind, like if you want to win, you have to play their game. You have to play their points game, and whatever. But if you don't like that, then I'd suggest like support, like, or consider supporting like catch wrestling, the movement, and like where it's a true demonstration of technique and skill.
Yes. Like couldn't have said it better myself. Right? Yeah. So yeah, if you want to avoid all that stuff, like why don't we grow authentic catch wrestling so we can have more events, and so then the bigger it gets, then basically like size wise, then it will attract more people, and so support authentic catch wrestling as opposed to like people who try to add points or whatever, because it's just not catch wrestling whatsoever. It just never was. It never was. It never. It should never be catch wrestling. So make sure you support authentic catch wrestling, and we'll just continue having events. And we'll definitely be, notifying everybody. We'll be posting on our social media. So check it out. It's Catch Wrestling Alliance, pretty much on every social media platform, or at least the main ones. Well stated. Yeah. All right. So if you want to support us on our YouTube channel, you can always become a member. We put a bunch of extra videos on there. If you want to learn and you're not in LA, if you're somewhere else in the universe, you can always join our online academy on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. But if you have any questions too, you can always send it through like our Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Just message us. All right. So that being said, we'll see you next time. So we're here to help you elevate your grappling, and then together we're going to keep real wrestling alive. See you next time.